Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Thanks for being here tonight for our work session on Tuesday, May 23rd. Welcome, everyone. And tonight we will have two items on our work session agenda. The first item will be to have a little discussion about our general plan process, and then we'll discuss some Utopia contract questions if there are any. So in terms of the general plan, if the council would just make note, we have an hour to discuss this and any Utopia questions. And of course, we can have Utopia questions later when we're considering the contract as well. But in terms of our discussion for this hour, if we can focus on giving staff direction as opposed to fleshing out each of the issues that are listed, then I think that we'll be able to be a little more efficient. And so for this discussion was precipitated by some questions from Councilman Bell about the process. And so Francisco wrote up kind of some of the points that were made and then some suggestions and discussion items. And so I'll just turn the time over to you, Mr. Astorga, our city planner, to kind of lead us through this discussion. But I think we can just kind of take it point by point and give you direction, if that sounds okay.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Thank you so much, Mayor, for the introduction. And yeah, as you indicated here, we recommend that council provide staff direction and guidance based on the provided comments and suggestions. We appreciate Council Member Jesse Bell's comment that he sent to council, and as always, required and recommended, we need to deliberate in person here. And so with that said, I just want to take 1 minute to tell you what we've done so far, and I'll be brief. We've had 3 joint meetings with the Planning Commission and the City Council. Those meetings have been obviously open to the public. The consultant that was hired, Logan Simpson Design, was able to interview all of council, every member of the Planning Commission, every member of the steering committee consisting of 12 members, and also an additional 18 people, I believe, ended up being interviewed. They were community members. The steering committee has met 6 times since we started back in July. We've had pop-up events, Halloween, trick-or-treating. We've been twice at the farmer's market. We've had several nights at the food truck nights. We started this process, as I indicated, sometime in middle of July. And we've had good social media presence. Whenever we send a social media push, we tend to get more visits on the established website that we had. So just to give you a little bit of the framework of what we had, which simply followed the scope that we authorized at the beginning of this process. Jumping into the summarized comment, number 1, proposal to add 2 additional joint meetings. The joint meetings obviously met between the Planning Commission and the City Council. These meetings are proposed to be 2 hours each with before the public draft. Ironically, as I was talking to the consultants, before we saw this email from Councilmember Bell, it was suggested by the consultant to add a 5th meeting to the scope. Their idea was to have a joint meeting before the preliminary draft and another one before the final draft. This is before we start the official public process, not public process, but public hearings, required public hearings. So as this was recommended by the consultant, and here it was brought up by Councilmember Bell, does the council support this additional joint meeting?
Aye. I'm supportive of the additional joint meetings. In your report, we've had 3 of 4 meetings.
Mm-hmm.
I had interpreted Councilman Bell's suggestion that we had 4 planned meetings, so this would bring us to 6. total joint meetings rather than what looks like 5 total joint meetings. Perhaps, in having 6 total joint meetings, one of those could be dedicated to a leakage study, which I recognize is later on in your staff report, but that is how I had interpreted it. We had planned on 4. The suggestion was to add 2 more for a grand total of 6, and I would be very supportive of that.
Was that your intent?
I felt like we needed at least 2 additional meetings to complete this process with at least 2 hours of each meeting. Whether it's the one that was already scheduled or in addition to, I'm up for, discussion with the council and.
So
what's
I
needed
know
with-
you're not a person that's in favor of having meetings, just have meetings.
Correct.
So what was the purpose in your mind of 2 additional meetings?
I was comfortable having 2 additional meetings with 2 hours each.
To delve into
To,
specific things, or?
Was it because we only got to the presentation stage and not actually to the discussion and feedback stage?
Correct.
That's how I was feeling, is we were
In
getting
past
information
meetings,
but not
we
getting.
I felt like in past meetings, we went through a lot of good information. It was good presentation. And as we were starting to get our minds wrapped around it, our hour was up and we really weren't able to provide any good, strong discussion. That's why I felt like 2 hours would be helpful instead of 1. And I'm okay only doing 2 meetings in the future.
So that would be a total of 5 at 2 hours each.
Yeah.
Okay, so you feel comfortable with 2 additional meetings from this point forward?
Correct.
2 additional joint meetings. Any other thoughts on that, council?
I'm fine with the 2 additional meetings from this point forward for a total of 5, just making sure we're all on the same page. But again, I would support Councilmember Bradshaw's and, the idea of devoting one of those meetings to a leakage report and study, see what we've discovered on that front, as well as looking at economic development opportunities and redevelopment opportunities and zones that we may be interested in focusing on that might not be in the RDA zone, but are important areas for economic development within the city. So if we can get all of that done in those remaining 2 meetings, then I would support that. If you don't feel like we can, then maybe what Councilmember Bradshaw suggested, that we have the total of 6 meetings. What are your thoughts about that, Francisco? Do you think with the remaining, if we were to have 5 meetings total, can we get to all of that information? Like meaningful, robust discussions, taking in what, the consultant and the steering committee are bringing to us, and then being able to have these discussions about leakage, economic development, et cetera.
I believe that we can get there in the 2 meetings, but this is why we're here.
Any other thoughts from the council about how many additional meetings we would like to see as part of this process?
I'm fine with the additional meetings.
Okay,
Likewise.
all right. So there's your direction for item number 1, 2 additional meetings. And then let's talk about the next point where we were,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
And I'll just read the comment, which is a summary of Councilmember Bell's proposal to have an additional roundtable meeting with business owners and property owners to hear current obstacles, receive input regarding the city and/or the RDA, and to enhance collaboration. I do need to comment that any sort of enhanced collaboration will be welcomed through this process. As a way of reminder, we did have a specific downtown meeting on April 27th. That was an open house workshop that was specifically for downtown. Based on the size of that district, of that zone, we were able to send an invitation to every single property owner to remind them of that meeting had they not gotten to that social media post. Furthermore, we also sent an email invitation to every business owner. And granted, I believe that was the meeting that we had more participants. So I think we hit 100 people there, based on the other two that we had that were citywide workshops. We were able to get very good comments from participants that night. So I'm glad we had that opportunity. And the purpose of these meetings, while they provided comment then and there, we worked really hard to get more traffic on the bountifulgeneralplan.com website, where we had the virtual open house. Citywide, that was open for more than 30 days. The downtown component was open for a 2-week period. And it closed on May 14th. So the applicant has had 8 days since the website closed, and they're currently trying to formulate the next step as far as goals and policies and objectives regarding not just downtown, but the entire district, the entire city. So, if what's being requested here, it's a specific round, it would be a specific meeting, not necessarily citywide, is what we interpreted from the email that was sent. The roundup to have another opportunity to get more comments as indicated on the email or in the summary. Again, to hear obstacles, receive input regarding the city, the RDA, and once again, to enhance collaboration. As I said before, we always welcome that collaboration, especially through this process. Doing this is not just about having a 2-hour meeting with downtown folks. It's about having that meeting, formulating what we're going to do, and at the same time, taking their input and describing it in a way so it's meaningful, being brought back to the plan. So it's not about just accommodating a 2-hour meeting and inviting downtown owners and business owners, but it's another attempt to move forward. We don't, as staff, we don't disagree with this. It was not part of the original scope. However, we would welcome the collaboration, but it would take additional time, and very likely it would take additional money or funds to be paid to the consultant. They haven't told me no. They haven't told me how much it would be. It wouldn't be something huge. It's not going to be a ridiculous amount, but they're in the process. We want to have this meeting first so we can go back and say this is what we'd like to do if consensus is found herein regarding that downtown roundtable opportunity.
Thanks. So Councilman Bell, again, I just want to make sure I'm clear. Are you hoping that we can have an additional meeting with the downtown businesses
Yes.
specific to the downtown
Yes.
area? Okay. And your thought is that we would glean new information that additional information that we didn't already receive?
I think so. I think if we were to invite them to have more of an agenda as opposed to an open house style, I think could have some benefits that would be helpful information as we try to enhance economic development downtown.
Any other thoughts, Council?
Francisco, I've got a question. So is this something that you think could possibly be handled on the staff level, or we would need to include our consultant?
We're currently trying to do the best we can to balance. As I am the main project manager from the city's point of view, assisting the consultant. And we're trying to balance our current responsibilities as we have assisted in the outreach process, in meeting with the steering committee, in guiding the plan as professional city planners. To answer your question, this would be a consultant responsibility based on our current responsibilities that we already have with current planning and all the other different branches that we have within the Planning and Economic Development Department of the city.
Then
Can I add
just
to
as a-
that maybe real
Yeah,
quick? As we tried to make the new general plan unified and connected, I would hope that they would be there as well, because I think that there could be information that they could hear and learn and share that would be not disconnected, if they were not there.
Agreed. And I think as this opportunity only comes around every 10 years, or in this case, every 14 years, this is an opportunity that I don't think we should pass up. I think we should avail ourselves of this opportunity. I think the benefits will outweigh the cost, especially as you say, you don't think that it would add too much cost. I mean, we'd like to see what that might be. But in that more formalized process, like a true work session, jawing through some of the critical issues that impact and affect business owners, with opportunities for dialogue and discussion and brainstorming. So I support it.
Great. Any other comments or questions about that?
I guess in making sure that we have time for the contract review, I would say that for all of the comments, I would err on the side of making sure we get this right, because we only do the general plan update every so often, and it's such a critical document. The legislature has made it an even more critical document that we must live and abide by. I'd rather spend the time to make sure we get feedback from businesses, from the leakage study, that we talk about RDA opportunities, that we just make sure we've given it everything it needs to be a document that we are proud of, that our residents are proud of, and that we can implement and live by. So I'm all for more on all of the comments.
Okay. Anything else on the rest of these questions that you feel like you need specific direction on, or that the council wants to give direction on?
One, if I could, Mayor.
Yes.
Comment number 5.
Okay.
How is a review of downtown parking standards going to align with the general plan process? So the latest delay and stonewalling of me in my attempt to revise citywide parking standards was that it would be included in the general plan update.
As you can see, there is a text amendment application submitted.
Indeed.
And so we definitely will be addressing that.
Question is, does that text amendment application apply only to downtown, or does it apply to parking citywide?
It was submitted specifically to downtown.
So my formal request is that we expand that to include a review of the city's parking citywide, and that this time we do it and not pin it to some future process or goal or myth. Make it a reality and see what we need to do to bring our parking standards in line with what other folks are doing. That's my request, Mayor.
Any other comments on that or thoughts?
Just have a nice day. That'd be my only other request.
So, to maybe understand that a little bit more, so you're saying you'd like that now outside of the general plan to support the text amendment?
In conjunction with that text amendment application. Not necessarily.
Mayor, if I may, I think going along with that, it doesn't apply necessarily to parking, but kind of citywide. I recognize the importance that we all place on the significance of the downtown area, and Councilmember Bell's desire to have the roundtable with the downtown, but I hope that as we're looking at these broader ideas of economic development and redevelopment zones, when I say that, I don't mean within the RDA, just redevelopment zones, areas of opportunity, unproductive areas, et cetera, that we will look at areas, other areas also around town that are significant areas of potential growth and opportunity or redevelopment. And, you know, so we kind of look at the downtown area, maybe with that roundtable, but we're also looking with a broader lens, like Richard's suggesting with, or Councilmember Higginson is suggesting with the parking, but also with other areas of economic development, because indeed, this is something that we are all really hoping will be the vehicle that we can use in the coming years to, you know, move forward the positive change that we're hoping and preservation that we're hoping to see.
So, Mayor, if I may, I think we need to, I need to comment on both of these issues. I'll take Cecily's comment first, in that you'll be pleased in that that's how we've taken, if that's the exact approach through the current status of the city, and that we're not growing, we're not subdividing land, we're not doing that. We've recognized as a city through the steering committee that there are a lot more opportunities for efficiency and dare I say growth throughout the city. And that's exactly what the steering committee has somewhat merged in, the land use component as well as redevelopment component together, as well as housing. It's all part of the same discussion. So regarding your comment, I can't wait to show you the end result of that steering committee, because that's exactly what we've been doing based on the current status of the city. Moving on to Councilman Higginson's, it would be great to see if there's consensus in that the scope of the parking, he's requesting that we look at it citywide, not just downtown. Do we have consensus on his comment?
Council, what's your feeling?
I recognize that Councilman Higginson has been putting forward this request for, I think, the entire length of time I've served on the council, so I think it's time we got to it and we conduct that study and review. Perhaps it'll make sense for every single zone of the city, perhaps it will make the most sense for downtown and some adjacent zones, but we need to get to it, so I'm supportive of elevating it, the text amendment, expanding it, and including it in this general plan process.
Can I just make one comment from a staff and legal perspective? I think it's a great idea to evaluate all the parking in zones, but one thing we need to be mindful of is that we do have somebody that submitted an application and they are entitled to a quick and reasonable time frame to respond. So if it was going to be a very long process, it should probably be addressing that first parking situation first and then move to the rest of the zones. If you think it's going to be a long process or over the course of several meetings.
Thank you. That's good guidance.
Can I clarify one thing, Mayor?
Yes.
I should note that my request for this process predates any of the staff members that are currently seated in their current seats and any of the elected officials who are currently seated in their official seats. So I mean no animosity towards anyone who's currently sitting where they are, but it's time that we take care of the business of parking.
And I'm sure you recognize our attorney's advice that we want to be able to give the applicant a quick turnaround in their
I
request.
do, but I will say this, that delaying this until I may go away in November will only make me angrier and angrier as November approaches. So,
We hear you.
thanks.
Any other council members want to comment on a broader parking
No, I was just going to say before our attorney commented is, I am all in favor for what you're asking for. What's confusing or maybe not as clear is what that process looks like and how we go about that. But I do agree, it's urgent, it's important, and it's critical to economic development.
Indeed.
And so I'm in favor of however we can get that done quickly and efficiently and not hold up any applicants.
So, Francisco, are you willing to come back with a proposal of what you think would be reasonable for you to be able to accomplish that request?
This is doable, yes.
Thanks. Any other comments about parking or anything else in the general plan discussion?
Only to say I'm happy to broaden the scope of the parking discussion. So I'm glad to know it's doable. Thanks, Francisco. And thanks, Councilman Higginson, for bringing that up and persevering.
And maybe, if I may, 20 seconds, I just want to thank the staff and the consultant and the council, everybody for helping with the general plan. It is a really exciting and great and important process that we're going through. It's been time-consuming. We've put a lot of resources towards it. And as we're just maybe surpassed a little bit of the 50% mark, it was just the point of my email and the request in this report was to help us have no regrets and make sure when we get to the finish line, we're where we all want to be. So thank you for accommodating that.
Thank you. That's great. Any other last comments about the general plan discussion? Okay, we will move along now to talk about the Bountiful Fiber project. If anyone has questions about the contract with Utopia or any questions about fiber in general, I'll turn the time over to our city manager, Gary Hill.
Thanks. Just a quick preamble before any questions. We have we're handing out to you now what we believe is the final draft of the contract with Utopia. We have members of Utopia's staff here who've been very, very gracious with their time to review this over the last couple of months now. And what you have here is, I believe this is the clean copy of the agreement. I sent out shortly before council meeting an updated draft with just a few minor changes. They largely address things like the ability of our network to be able to be designed and constructed in a way that if we choose in the future to be independent from Utopia or anyone else, we could run it ourselves. It clarifies some of the data, such as GIS data and other items. Agreements are the property of the Bountiful Network. I think these are things that were all implied in the contract, makes it a little bit clearer that marketing efforts will be done for the benefit of Bountiful Fiber, even as they're being done by Utopia, with whom we are contracting to manage and market our network. I appreciated very much the time and the feedback we received. Appreciated the meeting with Council Member Price Hewish on Monday, who had a lot of good suggestions along those lines to make it clear that this was about the Bountiful Network, and from many of the others that have provided comments over the last several months. With that, if there are specific questions about the contract or things related to the contract, this might be a good time to discuss those as it's on the agenda tonight for your consideration and approval.
Mayor, I have a question. Gary, I had asked this earlier, you were going to check on it. There's the two entities, the original Utopia and the more current UIA. I'm not sure how they've structured the two entities, if there's like a series LLC or something governmentally equivalent. But could you help me understand why we would, specify Utopia versus UIA.
Why are our agreements with Utopia, not UIA? Yeah, maybe I can have Roger come up and give the answer to that.
Yeah, for us, it's a pretty clear line between the roles of the two entities. All of the employees and operations are at Utopia. UIA was created as a financing entity. It has no employees. So as we do a project where UIA finances it, it'll be a UIA agreement. If it's just an operating partnership where you're financing it, you own it, you basically just bypass UIA and go directly to the entity that has the employees and operations. It's all us, but it's just structurally, it makes more sense to contract directly with Utopia when you're the ones owning the network.
And is UIA also an interlocal Cooperation Act entity?
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
I won't go far.
Great, thanks. What other discussion items do we have, council?
I just want to say thank you to Gary and other staff that may have helped in putting together the review of the process. It was awesome to look back and read over the steps that have been taken. It's taken a while, but I think it's brought us to the right place. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Mayor, one more thing, if I could.
Please.
A fiber optic network is going to be built in Bountiful, and user fees are going to pay for that network. And I appreciate everybody who has gone to the work and effort to make sure that Bountiful City gets to own that network in the end for the sake of its residents. Thank you.
Thanks. Also, I know there was a lot of misinformation and a lot of rumors, and so hopefully our discussion tonight can be informative to those just joining the conversation. And we'll also, I know staff will be putting out a FAQ that has information about what is happening and what isn't happening and what people can expect and what it all means. And so there is a lot to it, and we have been studying it for years, and we really do appreciate all of our staff and all of the work that so many have put in for us to really have a really good understanding of what this plan is. Any other questions about the contract or anything else at this point?
I'll just maybe also comment, just in general, I know this has gone through many iterations and reviews, and appreciate the process that everybody's gone through to get to this point.
I guess this isn't a question, but may I comment? I just want to your point, Mayor, when you were talking about kind of rumors and things that are going around, I think it's important for our residents to understand that there's been one comment in particular that's been kind of a hot button topic on social media sites saying, well, other neighboring communities have installed fiber at no cost to residents, at no cost to the residents of those cities, when in fact that's just simply not true. You're either going to pay Google Fiber for a hookup to your home, and then Google Fiber will own it and make a profit eventually to benefit Google Fiber, which is wonderful. I believe in free market. Or you could pay Bountiful Fiber for a hookup, and then eventually our city and our residents will see the financial benefits and revenue from those hookups and from those subscriber fees. So there, regardless of however Bountiful chose to do this, there was going to be a cost to residents. Nothing is for free. And because this discussion has been going on for my entire term, and I'm up for re-election, so we've purposely moved slow, we've purposely have moved cautiously in finding out how we can do this in a way that will best benefit our residents not only now, but for the long term. And so I just hope as we move forward, our residents can understand there's simply no such thing as no cost to residents. You're either going to pay Google Fiber or some other entity for a hookup. And like I said, they get those revenues, or you could pay Bountiful Fiber for those hookups, and the city, and in turn, residents get those revenues. So I'm very grateful that we've moved cautiously and slowly. And I think I know I sometimes forget all of these conversations that we have had. And so we have a good understanding of this. But to someone who's just fresh to the conversation, I can certainly understand why they might be frustrated or feel like things are being mismanaged. But I would hope that our residents know and understand that we really have moved very cautiously and very slowly, and recognize this as being a really big boon and benefit to our city for decades to come. So,
Thank you. And just to clarify, the cost for residents is for those who choose to opt in. Those will be the residents who will be paying for the services that they're opting in to use. What other questions or comments do we have? Seeing none, are you all in favor of taking a break until the regular meeting, or are there other things that you would like to discuss?
I could talk parking for a while if you'd like. Okay, never mind.
Any other Utopia or fiber-related questions or comments?
And there will be time, of course, when this is on the agenda, if you think of something between now and then that needs to be addressed, we can do that.
Thank you.
If I could, Mayor, honestly, Mr. Hill, the regular updates as the negotiations on this contract have progressed have been awesome. So I think when our questions get answered along the way, there's a lot fewer questions stacked up now. So it's been great.
Good.
Great. Okay. Well, we will adjourn then and then come back for our regular council meeting at 7 o'clock. Thanks.